I'm shocked that the mainstream media is not all over this story. I mean, there's like a little thing in Politico, a little thing in The Hill. There may have been a mention at Associated Press, but nobody's talking about this.
All right. Well, John, thanks for jumping on, man.
Happy to do it. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Let's get right into it here. So, for people that aren't familiar with your background, John, you're a 15-year CIA officer. You eventually worked your way up to head of counterterrorism in Pakistan for CIA, where you led the raid that captured Abu Zubaydah, who's the number 3 in Al Qaeda at the time. You also served as a senior investigator with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So, there's been a lot in the news these past couple days on the government buyouts and specifically how it pertains to the CIA. So can you get us up to speed on what the latest is here and kind of what we need to know around it?
Yeah, there were a couple of developments just today and over the last couple of days. The important development today was that the CIA purposely sent an email to Elon Musk at his White House email address with the first names and last initial of every new hire in his or her probationary period. That's 3 years, the past 3 years, which is a security violation, which is a violation of the Espionage Act. But they did it on purpose because they said Elon Musk demanded that we send a list of everybody who's been hired in the last 3 years. We did that. It was to an unclassified White House email because that's all Elon Musk has, and he forced us to violate the Espionage Act. This was a shot across the bow. Nobody's going to get charged with espionage, of course. But this is a message from the CIA to Elon Musk saying, you're not as smart as you think you are. You do stupid things. And so here's something for the whole country to see. Now, the other thing is the appointment earlier this week of a new deputy director of the CIA. The deputy director of the CIA was supposed to be Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, who's Bobby Kennedy's daughter-in-law and who was the campaign manager for the Kennedy campaign. Senator Tom Cotton, the neocon Republican from Arkansas, objected to her. He doesn't like her. He never has liked her. And frankly, he wanted to be CIA director. So instead, President Trump named Amaryllis as the Deputy National Security Advisor for Counterterrorism, which ironically is a far more important and more powerful position than Deputy Director of the CIA. So 2 days ago, on February 4th, the president appointed the outgoing general counsel of the Heritage Foundation as the Deputy Director of the CIA. This appointment makes no sense to me, because the guy is a swamp creature. If you want to, drain the swamp, and you don't want people who have been in Washington for 20 and 30 and 40 years making careers for themselves, why in the world would you take the head lawyer for the oldest conservative think tank, which is not a it's not a populist think tank. It's a neocon think tank, and make him the deputy CIA director. I just don't understand the appointment.
So as of today, which is February 6th in the afternoon, I saw something like 60,000 government employees accepted this buyout offer. But at the CIA specifically, do you have a sense of how many people took it already?
Yeah, I heard today from a friend of mine that almost none of them have taken it. And the reason almost none of them have taken it is that it's not a clean buyout like it is elsewhere in government. For the CIA is different. The CIA does not have the same civil service protections that the rest of the federal government has. At the CIA, you serve at the pleasure of the president. If he doesn't like your face, he can fire you. Or if he doesn't want you to retire, he can order that you not retire. So what the offer was at the CIA is you can take the buyout now, you get full pay and benefits until the end of September, but if your job is deemed to be necessary to the national security, you have to work from now until September. So why would you do that? If you could just quit or retire without taking the buyout, then on Monday morning, you just start for double the pay at some defense contractor. Why would you take this buyout? It doesn't make any sense. So as a result, almost nobody took the buyout. And I think probably the handful of CIA employees that did are probably involved in HR, finance, logistics, physical plant, stuff that nobody cares about.
Yeah, because I'm sure people are rightfully so kind of worried about the national security implications of something like this, because when you think about it being offered to every employee at the agency, you're now talking about the Directorate of Operations, which are the spies, the boots on the ground, the people that are stealing secrets for us. So, like if you wanted to do, like you said, there's HR, there's analysis, there's finance, there's a lot of different parts of the agency. Like, why would you extend it to the entire workforce?
I think this wasn't very well thought out. There's always fat. In every agency across government, there's always fat that can be cut. But what you do then is you offer targeted buyouts. If you have too many accountants, offer them the buyout. You have too many secretaries. You have too many paper pushers. You don't want to get rid of the spies. You don't want to get rid of the people who have multiple hard foreign languages. You don't want to get rid of the people who have master's degrees and PhDs in really difficult area studies that you need, China, Russia, North Korea, that kind of thing. You want them to stay, not to take some buyout and then come back, as a contractor.
And what is like, as far as John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, like, what is his story? I don't know too much about him.
Yeah, he's a very quiet guy. He's a former congressman from Texas. He served 3 terms that he spent on the House Armed Services Committee. And then for like a minute and a half, at the very end of the first Trump administration, he was the director of national intelligence. So he's a smart guy. He's capable. He has a little bit of experience, and you can trust him to, look at the big picture and run the agency. This new deputy director. The deputy director is very important in that it's the deputy director that runs the day-to-day operations of the agency. It's the deputy director that makes sure the trains run on time and everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. This guy has zero background in intelligence or in running anything of any, size, let alone the most important national security and intelligence agency on the planet. So why he chose this guy? I really wonder if Radcliffe was consulted, or if they just decided to choose him as a thanks to the Heritage Foundation for supporting the campaign. I don't know. This doesn't make any sense to me.
Hmm. And so now on the email that was sent out with the identities of the probationary CIA officers hired in the last 3 years, like, what information of theirs was included in that email?
Presumably their first names, the first letter of their last names, and their hire dates. Now, I'll tell you why that's important. After denying and denying and denying all week that his employees have access to this information at the Office of Personnel Management, today Elon Musk said, okay, yes, they do have access to the information. They're not cleared for the information, but they have access to it. So at the Office of Personnel Management, they would be able to take those first names and the last initial, or the first initial of the last name, compare the hiring date. Most of them probably say U.S. Department of State, and they'll be able to say, that's a CIA officer undercover. Okay, that's a security violation, and it could be a violation of the Espionage Act. Look at it this way too: the Chinese, the Russians, the North Koreans, and dozens of private people are constantly trying to hack into American government servers. If they got in, they could just as easily make the connection by comparing the hire date, the first name, and the first letter of the last name to figure out every spy that the CIA hired in the last 3 years.
So, I mean, do these people have to retire in that case?
No, what they've done in the past, whenever there's been a traitor or a mole, like Robert Hansen, for example, or Aldrich Ames, all the people that those traitors exposed, in both cases, it was to the Russians or the Soviets before them. They what they call bring those officers in from the cold. So if you were a deep cover officer or if you were an undeclared officer undercover, you'll be brought into a liaison position. Meaning, let's say you were under deep cover, you were a wildlife photographer, let's say, right? And now you've been outed to the Russians or the Chinese or the Israelis or whomever. Now you're going to come into the embassy and the station chief is going to take you to the chief of the host country's intelligence service and say, "This is Dalton Fisher. He's my officer, and he's going to be working in a liaison capacity with your officers." So you can never be under any serious cover ever again. You've been blown, and you can guarantee that the Russians told the Chinese and the Iranians and the Cubans and the North Koreans and everybody else your identity.
So then, as far as like I'm just thinking about like the training pipeline at CIA and how long it takes to get like a brand new, just signed the contract recruit to deployable undercover stealing secrets. Like, as far as the names on that list, they are probationary employees. So over the past 3 years, they were hired. But is it plausible that there's people on that list that could have been hired and ramped and are undercover
Oh, yeah.
in?
Probably a third of them, because normally operational training is 2 years. So you were hired 3 years ago, you did your 2 years of training, and you go overseas as a junior officer. If you were under deep cover, that's about 3 years of training. But in some cases, you're hired from another national security agency like DIA, NSA, DARPA, whatever. So you don't need the whole Intelligence 101 class. You just do the guns, the recruiting spies to steal secrets, and straight overseas. And you can do that in, 3 or 4 months.
So, so I guess you're what you're saying is the agency sent this email in an unclassified manner as a big FU, right? They're but they're just cutting off their nose to spite their face in this case. It's just everybody's got a black eye.
Yep. Yep. I'll tell you what, if I were a probationary officer, I would be livid that this happened because they have just effectively taken 2/3 of my job possibilities away from me. What if I wanted to work in China? Now I can't work in China or Russia. I mean, there are a lot of guys who really love the challenge of working in what's called a denied area, and now they can't because they've been exposed or possibly exposed. Yeah, this was a big back of the hand to Elon Musk.
So how do you think this all unfolds like over the next couple months then? Is this going to be blocked?
Well, we saw just this week the courts getting involved in a lot of what Elon Musk is trying to do, and they've blocked all of it across the board. There are delays, holds, injunctions on everything so far. Just today, they said, no, 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 there aren't going to be any buyouts. We're going to figure this out. So I think Elon Musk, I think he told Trump he was going to stick around for 6 months and then go back to his, corporate holdings and positions. I wouldn't be surprised if he left early because the courts are just not going to let him be a little mini dictator and decide who gets to work and who doesn't get to work and what the policy is. Who is this guy? He's nobody. He's not even a federal employee. So I think he's not long for this position. Vivek Ramaswamy, who was supposed to be the leader, secretary of the Department of Government Efficiency, Ramaswamy lasted a week and said, I can't work with this guy. I quit. I'm going to run for governor of Ohio. And he left. And we haven't heard from him since. Well, there is no such thing as the Department of Government Efficiency. See, this is like first grade of how the federal government works. You can't just decide you're going to make a new agency and staff it, and then that's it. You live happily ever after. Congress has to create an agency. They have to pass an authorization bill, and after that's passed, they have to pass an appropriations bill. Then it goes to the other house of Congress that has to do the same. Then it goes to a conference committee, so they hammer out differences in the two bills. It goes back to the two houses of Congress. They vote on the clean bill, and then the clean bill goes to the president for his signature. Literally none of that has happened. That's why in the papers, when journalists mention the Department of Government Efficiency, they put quotation marks around it, because there is no such thing. It's just made up. It has no employees. These 20-something-year-olds that are working, in this Department of Government Efficiency, they're working for Elon Musk. SpaceX is paying these guys. The federal government's not. And nobody ever gave them security clearances that they can just, walk over to the CIA and say, yeah, there's a buyout now. All of you guys have to go. That's not how government works.
And so, I mean, dude, you do this for a living. You're much more plugged into this than I am as far as updates go and what the latest is. Is there anything that I missed asking you about, or is there anything that we didn't talk about that's out there right now?
No, you didn't miss it. I'm shocked that the mainstream media is not all over this story. I mean, there's like a little thing in Politico, a little thing in The Hill. There may have been a mention at Associated Press, but nobody's talking about this. I was so furious, with the Washington Post today, with this giant expose of this fight inside the Democratic National Committee. And this is exactly why I'm a registered independent, because it has to be 50% men, 50% women to head the 50 states, and then this number that have to be lesbians, and this number have to be gays. And now this guy's like, well, I'm non-binary, so you have to make a special. It's like, this is what you're fighting over, right? We have war in the Middle East. You have the president announcing 2 days ago that he's going to commit a war crime by seizing and developing Gaza. Major, like historical war crime. It's not going to go anywhere, of course. And they're fighting about, who has sex with whom and who has a penis and who doesn't. And that's who gets to head the state committees. It's absurd.
So why is nobody covering this?
Man, this is a mystery to me, Dalton. I think this is a very important issue. I'm going to write about it. I think people ought to know that we've entered into this circus already in Washington. I understand there are going to be people who hate Donald Trump. That's fine. But you can't hate Donald Trump by jeopardizing the lives and careers of the people working in the intelligence community. That's just not the way things are supposed to work. It's just not.
And again, like I was looking like for my own personal knowledge, for stories about this. And again, I figured, you appear on Fox all the time. You do all the major networks, and I was just surprised to see that they're not reaching out to people in the intelligence community for their take. And
I don't know. I'm on Fox all the time, and they have not called me at all since Donald Trump became president, which kind of surprises me. I'm banned from MSNBC. That's their problem. But even CNN, I'm on CNN with some regularity, and they haven't said a word.
Well, so where can people find you?
I'm on Substack, johnkiriakou.substack.com, and LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, John Kiriakou.
Cool, man. And yeah, if people haven't seen it, we have 2 full-length interviews on the channel here with John here in person. They're excellent. They're the very first 2 interviews that I did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. We had fun. It was good.
We did. And yeah, dude, I can't wait to have you back in the chair for real, not a laptop with your face on it, as much as I'd love to see your face anyway. I'd love to have you in person again soon.
I look forward to it. It'll be a good time.
But yeah, man, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it.